All right. Yeah, if you have any questions, like I said, feel free to ask us. I'm gonna do this demo for y'all.
Hey, can I ask you a quick review of a portfolio?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, share the link in the what you call it
Yeah.
in the go-to meetings. Yeah, there you go. Let's take a look. Yeah, so this is like exactly the kind of stuff I'd expect to see. I can tell like you're relying a lot on photo bashing. And yeah, you really need to get back to the fundamentals. Like your ideas are good though. That's the thing. You know? I can tell that you have some creative
Hmm.
ideas. Especially your thumbnails you did. They were really great. But you need to like a lot of the stuff needs to be solidified. It's still too kind of what's the word? It's still too like soft. Like everything is just soft edges and nothing is really
Hmm.
clarified. It's just blurry. And a lot of it's because you're hiding behind a lot of like tricks, you know?
Yeah.
It's like when
Hmm.
someone's first discovered Photoshop. That's what those paintings look like. Okay? Like you just discovered a technique and each painting represents a new technique that you might have learned or something. That makes sense? And the only reason why I know this is because I did the same thing. Right? My teacher, one of my best teachers I ever taught that taught me, he looked at my stuff and he told me that I was very gimmicky. And when he told me that, that day forward, I focused a lot of my efforts in learning traditional painting techniques, and I'm glad I
Hmm.
did because they're so powerful. You know,
Yes.
so trust me on that. Like, yeah, you gotta like do some good groundwork. You know, to increase that
Right.
quality in your work. Um, yeah, you don't want to rely on gimmicks. Photo bashing is totally fine, but if you know how to use the photos, it's even better. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I'm
So,
not sure. I'm not sure if anyone would hire you right off the bat off of what you have because it's not finished work. You know,
hmm,
I'm not saying that nobody would never ever hire you. I'm just saying like it's just the word I'm really trying to use is sloppy, right? It's just really like a lot of just a mess, and it's because you're using a lot of texture brushes and stuff like that. And it's cool like in the beginning, like if you're doing like texture or like thumbnails like you did for the class, like those are great. You know, because we're getting
hmm.
an impression, but you don't want to always live in a world of an impression. Is what I'm trying to get at. You know,
Oh, okay.
because this is great.
Okay.
This
Okay.
is great,
Okay.
but then what does the final version of this look like? You know,
Yeah.
do you know
Hmm.
Merrick Oken? You must know Merrick. If you don't, get ready to know who he is. This guy. Here, I'll show you his portfolio. Oops. Merrick's great. So like if you look at like something like this is like a little bit of 3D in painting. There might be some photo bashing in here, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Hmm.
pretty impressive, right? And that's his sketch. You get what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Like,
Yeah. So some process of him is putting stuff in poser and then painting over it.
yeah. And here's the thing, like, um, even if that's the case, people forget He no, he paints everything too. It's easy to be like, oh yeah, he just uses 3D and Poser and all these like Dash 3D and
No, 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 no.
whatever.
It wasn't that the tone, but
Oh, I see what you're saying.
I know
But my point is
it's
that sometimes people do get caught up on that. You know what I mean? They get distracted with the tools. You know,
mhm.
and I'm like, no, like he used to just paint everything like by hand. You know what I mean? I don't think this is a good example, but this image is definitely. You know, and so whenever he starts to use photos, it's just it's going to be impossible to tell because he already knew how to paint photorealistically. You know, Chase Stone is another. Chase Stone is my favorite because you can. I don't know how the hell he does it. It's still very mysterious to me. I know he uses photos. I know. I don't think he uses any 3D. Um, but like his the way he handles it's so good. This looks so painterly,
I know it is.
right? It looks
Uh,
so painterly. But I know he uses photos,
would
but it's like it looks like he paints it all. And I've heard people say that he does paint it all, but I'm like I don't know. I haven't seen a sketch. I need to see a sketch of his. You know, I usually really dig deep. Let's look at his DeviantArt. Maybe there'll be something there. Maybe he's uploaded something like that. Like I don't see a weakness. Is what I'm trying to say. Let's go back in time. So he was a good painter. Like this is okay.
would
This is always cool to see if you look at like someone's like old work. Yeah, he was an extraordinary painter, so that makes sense. Like that looks traditional. Okay. So then what else? When did he start doing the photo stuff? If he ever did. Maybe he never does. Maybe he's just an extraordinary painter. Maybe he's like a traditional painter in the sense that he uses a lot of good photo reference to use to guide him, and then he just lights everything by hand. But I know he to stick to the deadlines, he can't do that. It just takes too long to paint every single thing. But you see like the value of like having a photo, right? Like I don't think this. I think this is painted. But think about like having a photo, right? And then all you have to do is just kind of make subtle adjustments to it, not like complete adjustments, you know? So this is good. This is something that I
mhm.
was looking for, like a sketch slash painting, because
But
it gives
would
me a lot of
you
clues.
mhm.
Go ahead.
Okay?
What were you saying?
To would you recommend while in the learning process to avoid using photos to be
No,
like
I think you should practice it,
cognizant
but
of
like
them?
when you're studying, you shouldn't. Like, don't study how to use photos. Study just how to paint, you know?
Okay.
And then, but
Okay.
practice photo bashing because that's still not easy to do.
Mm-mm.
You get it?
Okay.
Like, it's okay to use both. Yeah, these are really good. Yeah, it might be he just paints.
Um,
He might just paint it all. He's just really smart. I don't know. I have to dig deeper.
and but um would you I mean about the portfolio is just that I have to keep adding stuff
Yeah,
there
I
or
would say,
because
yeah, just keep adding new stuff. I would highly recommend maybe getting a Tumblr or like a, a blog and then just updating that so that way you're
Mhm.
constantly updating new stuff. Dude, this is freaking dope. How come I've never seen this image before? What? It's fine. Damn, so good. Okay, sorry. Um, it's good, man. It's real good. Such an interesting painting and concept. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go on a hiatus of studying Chase Stone stuff for a while. Yeah, but I heard like yeah, he does photo slash he also paints it, but he does a really good job because it's like it's hard to tell where it begins and where it ends type of stuff, you know.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And
And
so
I mean, we were saying to just keep updating the portfolio rather than removing stuff.
yeah, I mean it's already there. It's like no harm. It's one of those things too. Like later on, you might look back and be like, oh my gosh, what was I thinking, kind of thing, which is always cool. Like you saw like the stuff you just saw with Chase Stone. It's kind of cool to see like his old work, right? That's kind of interesting.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, but I like I said, with a blog or a Tumblr or some sort of like thing that is meant to kind of like no one will ever really trickle down to the earliest of your work, unless they're really digging.
Okay.
Because like ArtStation is more like portfolio savvy, so maybe stay away from it for a second, and then just as you feel like. Because for me, I treat my ArtStation like a blog, but I'm at like a different level in my career, that even like a sketch of
Mm-hmm.
mine is reasonable, you know.
All right.
But maybe for you, you just kind of hold off and then just keep building a portfolio outside of that, and then just update it once you have like 4 or 5 new pieces that you feel really powerful about.
Okay.
Because I think it's good. Like you got the workings of a great concept artist. You just need to get you just not you gotta stop avoiding the hard stuff. You know what I mean? And I don't mean that in a
What do you
negative
mean?
way. Like I mean like you always were afraid of painting faster. You were afraid of time, like those types of stuff. I had to force you to do that. You shouldn't be afraid of just sucking. Is what I'm trying to
Mm-hmm.
say. You should just accept it full on. The sooner you do that, the faster you'll get better.
No, I'm fine with that.
Okay.
It's just that I remember when said that I tend to overcomplicate stuff. Is is that I get a feeling that I got to constantly challenge myself.
Yeah.
So I tend to do harder stuff because I want to test myself.
No, but I don't think you're
But
testing
maybe
yourself in the right way. That's what I was saying. You're
mm,
challenging yourself in the comfort zones. You're not challenging yourself where you're not. You like for instance, when we were doing those 1 hour painting studies, was that something you were doing? Like how
yeah,
comfortable were you doing those? Not at all. Not a little bit, right?
not at all. Yeah, yeah.
That's where you need to be more often, is what I'm trying to say. That feeling. Got it? I don't feel like you were in that space often.
Mm, okay, okay, I got it. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, because if you can say you're challenging yourself, but I've proven to you what that actually feels like. Okay?
Mm,
And so now you know the difference. So
yeah,
now you won't confuse what really is challenging. Okay? Like doing something that you
yeah.
don't feel, if you feel comfortable the whole time through, you're not challenging yourself, right? Um, you have to have some sense of challenge. Like what I was gonna do for those paintings, I was just gonna try to paint like some like the Chase Stone studies. I was probably just gonna try to look at something and just figure it out. I already have some plans. I was like maybe using better layer management. You know, using I really feel like I need to sit down and just make a good set of texture brushes. And just sit down and do it and do a good job of it. All right, I think I need to be better about that. But that's kind of the point I was trying to make when I was just talking to you. It was like challenging yourself means discomfort for quite a bit. Now, does that mean the whole time should be just uncomfortable when you're painting, right? Nah. I'm saying that's why I say you should also practice things that you do like to do. Not sorry, not like to do, but things that you feel more comfortable doing. So you could sharpen those as well. You get it? You should do everything. You should improve things that you feel comfortable with. You should do things that you don't feel comfortable with. You should also take breaks. Don't paint like several hours at a time without taking a genuine break. You know, like you should do something. Give your opportunity for your brain to relax and think about it. You know. But if you spend zero amount of time practicing on things that really bother you the whole time you're doing it, if you don't put much time into that, yeah, you don't improve as much as you could if you were doing some of that. And like I said, it doesn't have to be a lot. I don't want you to spend, 17 hours just in complete discomfort because you're going to stop doing it, you know? Your body's going to reject that kind of practice training regimen, you know? But if you do it like every once in a while or in between your hobbies or in between other studies that you feel more comfortable or more happy trying to do and improve upon, uh, you'll do it more and more often. And then what next thing you know, you will not feel uncomfortable because I used to feel uncomfortable all the time with that stuff, but I think it was easier for me to deal with it because I knew what I was just telling you, right? That it's only uncomfortable. I'm not sure who taught me this or who told me this line, but if it's if it's easy, then you're not learning, right? I've heard that like I forgot who told me this or where I heard that, but when I heard that, like I've kind of always let that resonate in kind of my early growth, you know, to the point where now I don't even worry about sucking at something at all, like in a real way, not in a like, oh yeah, I won't let anything, like people say that all the time, but then they let things that are difficult get in the way all the time, you know? It's easy to say that it doesn't bother you, but it's different when it actually, you don't let it, something like that bother you. Yeah, there's something along the lines of that. I love the, like there was like what did he put it around? He wrapped it around. Um, yeah, Frank was great. He had a really good presentation and he just put it against the resistance. That's what it was, right? You need some resistance. If there's no resistance, then there's no growth. Again, like I said, it doesn't mean you should be resisting every single second though, because that's really uncomfortable. Does it help you out, Roberta?
Yes, yes, yes. Thanks.
Yeah, man. I think you got what it takes, bud. Just you got to start working on that quality, and I don't think it's going to take long either. I think at the most, maybe like a year. You know, like if you really focus on your training, like in a year from now, you'll be superior. Because I agree that you have that ethic in you. Like I said, you never did anything that I didn't ask you to do. You always did everything, and that says a lot about kind of person you're going to be or person you are. So I trust that you'll do it, and I think within a short amount of time. And if a year sounds like a far away, trust me, that's not. Like if you live to be like 90 years old, Roberto, 1 year of your life of improving on that is like nothing. It's like a blink of the eye, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's just people don't want to hear like, oh, year, I want to be good tomorrow. No, it takes time, man. You know, it takes time. Like
Yeah.
it just takes time, and nothing comes to people right away. It takes a little bit of time, but it's inevitable. You know, if you keep working at it, like it's just inevitable. You know, there's like nothing that will
Yeah.
stop you other than aside from death or something super traumatic that maybe is personal, and or just you just decide not to do it anymore. That's like literally that. You know, like nothing else can get in your way. I mean, I've like case in point, I have like two students in my class, James and Danielle, right now. They have tremendously grew. Their skills are dramatically better, and it's been about a year, maybe a year and a half, right? It's about right. Like I feel like they're not that far away of being really, really amazing. Like they're really great right now. They just a few more steps, which might be like I don't think it'll take another year. I think it'll be several more months, but definitely not like a year. I think they'll be great. They'll do really well in the industry once they start getting work, and then then after that, it just exponentially gets better. Like 5 years from now, I believe half of you guys, or if not more than half, will be doing talks and speeches around the world, teaching people how to also improve and have your own rhetoric and have your own kind of uh, voice on what you think will help people grow. But there will be that common ground that we all live upon, which is that it just takes time and effort, you know? Because everybody learns differently as well. That's why I teach everyone differently, and that's why I give people different assignments. We start off all on the same assignment, but I give you different ones because you guys are not the same people. You know, Danielle needs different guidance than James does, right? Just like Riley needs different guidance like Rich or you. So don't focus on other people's uh, like stakes as well, like where they are at, because it doesn't really affect you directly. Indirectly maybe, but not directly, right? Like what does someone else's growth or epicness or ability to do well have anything to do with you, right? Nothing. So I usually try to tell people not to get distracted by that. But more importantly, which I think no one in here actually is. Um, I don't think at all. I think everyone in here is great. But that insecurity surfaces every once in a while. I understand. But just remember, it's there's no need for it. Yeah. Are the kids in bed? Huh? Are the kids in? I just put them in. They're watching TV for a bit. Okay. I told your dad to turn off their TV once in 10 minutes. I told Delilah she can play Overwatch. Can you get the kids in here so I can say goodnight to them at least? They're already in bed. I know, but can you just go grab it real fast? You know the work it took to put him to bed? Not that much. A lot for me right now. I don't feel well. All right. You can go say goodnight over there. Okay. Jake ran out of Xbox Live. I don't know if you want to give him more or not. I'm sorry, what? Xbox Live? You run out of it? Nope. It was really good this week. Yeah. Yeah, this process is pretty great. It's because there's two things that I don't have to worry about, which is lighting and color. But you have to have good sense of lighting and color to control it. Otherwise, you'll start to suffer. But it's worth trying, right, and practicing. I don't discourage any of you guys trying. My point was to Roberta earlier is like when you're using photos, you know, the power of knowing how to paint is like overwhelming. And like I'm only using one really photo, like one photo too. I'm not really trying to use multiple ones. But it's not because I'm like trying to show off or anything. It just shows like I normally would use multiple photos and do all the stuff that you'd see normally that people do. It's just that I don't like need to. Um, and that's the point. Like the fact that I don't need to allows me to be better at doing this kind of stuff. And like when I grab a photo or whatever in photo bash, because like look at the difference. Because when I photo bash, then it's just like, you know, um, it's hard to tell. I'm not as good as my colleagues who do it professionally. They do it like every day because they have more practice in it, obviously. But I can stand up. I can stand toe to toe with some of them. What was the question that was asked? How many years have you been teaching? Almost about 6 years. So even that like takes time. Like when I first started teaching, like I wasn't great at it. I think I was really good at talking. You know what I mean? Like I was really like engaging. I can keep people's attention mostly. You know what I mean? But it didn't mean that like people were learning anything. And I found that out because what happened was like uh the first few years of me teaching, I noticed about like 20 to 30% of my students would do really well, and the other 70% would not. They did really badly. And I couldn't figure it out. And I used to blame it like mostly on the students. Not directly, I wouldn't be like, it's all your fault, but like indirectly, I would kind of think, well, those people just don't work hard enough kind of thing, right? But then over the years, yeah, the meta. But the years, as the years gone by, I recognized it's like maybe it's not me, or maybe it's not them. Maybe it's me. You know. And that became very clear to me. And then I started focusing in my efforts. In fact, now that I've gotten a lot of my energy back and I'm starting to feel much better, it's only been a week and a half, so I'm still kind of like holding my breath on it. But I'm feeling pretty optimistic that I'm mostly cured. It's pretty great. Um, but anywho, I yeah, I was doing more research, just even more recently. Just more and more research, just finding time and time just to become a better teacher, reading more about what goes on behind the psychology of people to help get behind the psychology of people to try to get past their misconceptions of what they think they are or what they're capable of. Because a lot of what stops people from growing is themselves. So yeah, so even like teaching took time for me to get better at. How does that channel? I'm not sure what you're talking about. Are you talking to someone else? What the? Like most often? What in the world? Explain yourself, Riley. Are you drinking wine right now, Riley? How do I channel? How do I help people get past that? What?
Yeah, yeah, it's just easier to say something instead of type it all out.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, you were talking about you were talking about how like you were saying that people most often keep themselves from learning. So like
Oh yes.
what yeah, like what were some of those things that kind of like people that get in the way for people doing that and like what were some ways that you as a teacher kind of help walk them through that?
Yeah, there's a few things. So the biggest things that prevent people um, is the first one and probably the most valuable, like the most valued one that I try to attack, mostly indirectly too, is confidence. Okay, a lot of people have confidence issues. Okay, and what that means is that when you present to them that maybe they're wrong or they're the way that they're doing things are wrong or that they're not as good as they may think that they are, right? And you shake that confidence a little bit, right? Um, that was one of the hardest things for me to kind of help people improve upon. But I think I found ways to improve upon that. The tactic is to reveal empathy, meaning I I am not saying that you're a bad artist or a bad person. I'm your friend. I'm here to help kind of
Hmm.
approach. That's
Hmm.
why I
Yeah, no,
stopped. Oh, go ahead.
I was just I was saying like I've definitely been a little butthurt about some of the things you said, but you know, it's good.
Yeah,
It's good
but
stuff.
not enough where you would yell or argue or fight with me about it, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, you know what you're talking about. That's why
Yeah.
I wanted to take the class.
But see, here's the thing. Even people that know what they're talking about, if they don't say it the right way, you might not take it the right way, even if they're right. You understand? Do you get what I'm
Hmm.
saying?
Yeah, totally.
And I experienced that a few times with my students where I was very right, but I was very wrong about how I was explaining it to them. Like one student, she was really, really arguing with me because I told her anatomy is awful. I was like, your anatomy is like garbage. Like it does, like no one's ever going to be able to believe this. It just does not look like real anatomy. You need to look at photos or whatever. And she's like, I don't want to look at photos. I need to look at real things, real people. That's the best way to learn. And I say, okay, first of all, like I don't argue that. Of course, looking at real reference and studying that is helpful, but I mean, how often are you going to be able to do that? You know, it's just not practical. You need to kind of come down from that high horse of yours for a second and realize that it's just not it's not practical. And we just went back and forth like talking like that to each other, arguing with one another. You know. And she was
Hmm.
just kind of like, okay, whatever, like agree to disagree. And then she dropped out of my class, right? Because she felt like she wasn't getting what she was getting out of the class, or maybe she didn't feel capable of doing the work that I was asking her to do. Whatever. Um, here's the thing. Here's the catch. She wasn't a bad artist. She actually was pretty good. Just anatomy just needed to be improved. You know,
Hmm.
like a lot of her work was actually better than most of the students I've taught. Right, and that's what kind of got me. It wasn't so much that she was a bad artist, right, or even a lazy one. She just she just couldn't take the heat. You know. And
Hmm.
some of my colleagues in the past, we've talked about this, and they're like, "Well, maybe that's she's not cut out for this business." And I was like,
Yeah, I've heard
"No,
that. I've seen that happen before too, and it was like messy and gross.
yeah, yeah." And I'm
Where
like, "Go ahead, finish your story."
oh, no, I was just saying, like, I watched Marco Djurdjevic crit someone's
Oh
portfolio, and like
yeah,
the
yeah,
guy like cried afterwards, and it was just like, oh, it was bad, but like, I mean, it didn't make it any less true. But I remember him saying that right after that, and that kind of just like staying with me, and like thinking of like kind of processing through that.
yeah. Marco's rough, man. Um, I've seen him
Yeah,
too. I've seen him in action. Um,
it's not wrong.
yeah. Here's the thing: he's not entirely wrong, right? And so,
Yeah.
and he's hired like two of my students too. So it's not like he's not wrong, and he does not like he's stupid either. He's just aggressive, man. He's just hardcore. He's like traditional educator, and that's my point. Is that I wasn't ever that harsh, right? But I was pretty harsh, and again, some of my colleagues and other teachers would say something along the lines of, "Well, maybe they're not cut out for this if they can't handle a critique," right?
Hmm.
And I at the time, when that was told to me, like I believed that to be true too. I was like, yeah, it's like art directors are going to be that rough sometimes. But after working in the industry for quite a while and never really having that moment happen to me, you know, like no, like my art directors are usually nice guys. I'm sure there was an art director somewhere that's like freaking hardcore, like yeah, Marco, like working for him might be like that, right? But
Hmm.
uh, not everyone's like that, you know. Some people are empathetic and will listen to or even give you feedback that is not harmful, you know? And uh and if they are, maybe they like so that's the kind of point that I wrap it all around basically is that maybe that's the teacher's excuse. You hear what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Maybe that's the excuse of the teacher to say something that along the lines of, well, maybe they're just not cut out for this. No, no, maybe you're just not a good teacher. And when I started thinking along that lines, it became clear. And what I guided my whole, like the last 3 years, I think it was, maybe a little bit less than that. Like ever since I started Robotpencil mentorships, basically, I've decided that, you know, w- instead of thinking about like, how do I, like, remember that percentage I was talking about, the 30% versus the 70%? It's like, wouldn't it be a mark of a good teacher that instead of that really encouraging those 30%, because let's be honest, those 30% are people like that are already there, that are already really passionate and really easy to teach. Okay. They're already there. And maybe like 10% or maybe like half of those people, if you just put that little fire underneath the butt, they maybe didn't have it before, but now they do out of that
Yeah.
30%. But my point is that those people were already there, you know, they were already awesome. All you're doing there is just confirming they're awesome and giving them more challenges, you know?
Hmm.
But what about those other 70%? Wouldn't it be a mark of a good teacher if he or she took those 70% and also make them like the 30%? So that out of a class, you get 100% of people doing extraordinarily well, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and right now I'm at about like 70% now. So I went from 30% of my students doing really great to about 70% of my students doing really great. Right? And one day I'll be at 100 once I really figure out people, you know? Because there's,
Good luck really figuring people out.
I got time. I got time. Especially after the surgery, I might have more time. You know, give me another decade on focusing on how to become a great teacher. You might be surprised, right?
No,
No,
that's awesome. I'm all for it. Like especially like analytically approaching art and like reapplying that to other areas of your life. Like I've definitely seen that in my life. So.
yeah, it's all connected. There's really no difference to improving yourself at anything. You just gotta just remind yourself that. In fact, I find, and I mentioned this in the class before, I find that I'm more of like a reminder of sorts versus like an actual teacher. So as a mentorship, like I just remind you and guide you versus actually teaching you like how to paint between the lines. I have plenty of videos for that kind of stuff, and other people have plenty of great videos for that kind of stuff. You know,
Mhm.
you don't have to spend hundreds of dollars to get that kind of education. You really don't. But to help you like psychologically understand why and like what's preventing you from your own potential. A good example I always like to bring up to students is like does anyone have a gun to your head telling you that you should have played that game 30 minutes longer than you should have? You know? Does someone have a gun to your head that made you not want to paint or do the studies that day because you just didn't feel you didn't want to feel uncomfortable, right?
Mhm.
You know, there are definitely people on this planet who have a legitimate excuse. You know who those people are? The people that have no access to internet or running water. And there's quite a few of them, billions of them. There's
Mhm.
billions of people on this planet right now that have no clue what we're doing right now. They have no clue that you can take a class online and learn how to paint for the movie industry or video game industry. They might not even know that the movie game industry has this type of career, or like they don't even know how it's made even at the very basic level. You know, if you have running water and access to the internet, like a lot of you guys, like I decided you generally um, is skeptical to some certain excuses. You get it? Because the fact that you're, for one, available to afford my class, and two, have time to take my class, right?
Mhm.
So that's like already two pieces of evidence against you for certain claims, right? And so I like to believe that a lot of the students that take my class, like most of you guys, are capable of working in industry in a very short amount of time. And I don't mean like in a year either. I mean like maybe in a year, within at the shortest about a year and a half to like 2 to 3 years. That's not a long time. Again, remember like in the blink of an eye, if you live up to 60, 70, or 80, 3 years is nothing, right? And
Mhm.
it's exponential too. It's exponential. Like you will, once you get that job or whatever, you'll keep painting and keep getting better and better. And then 5 years from then, you're going to be even better. And then 10 years, you're going to be just as good, if not better than me, because you'll be piggybacking off of what I've taught you, right? And then the next thing you like I said, you'll be doing your own classes or doing your own workshops and lectures. I've seen a lot of my students achieve great things. And I'm very proud of every single one of them. I feel like in the next, like I said this about 2 years ago, so give it another 2 more years. I said about 5 years ago, 5 years, 2 years ago, so that's 3 years. So 3 years from now, I have a real big clue that a lot of you guys, there's going to be a lot of Robotpencil alumni in the industry rolling and calling the shots on a lot of big things. And I can't wait for that. I'm going to be very proud when that day happens. That 70 to 80% of people that I believe were going to be great are now there doing great things. James Green, CEO of Blizzard. You know, if one day you are at Blizzard and you're like not the CEO, but like maybe the creative director, James, that would be nuts, right? You're just joking, but then all of a sudden, God replaces it all. I don't think that would happen, but we can dream. Or better yet, you have your own Blizzard. You make your CEO a big deal for a bigger company or project. My wife said I'm unprofessional because I yawned. You're unprofessional. I want my babies. Can't get everything you want. Any other questions, y'all? Hope you guys enjoyed this flower painting that I did. I definitely enjoyed it. Those are great questions, by the way, that you guys did ask. I think those are awesome. You don't have to ask a question just for the sake of question. Just curious, because we are on the home stretch. I'm gonna make some final changes to this. Yeah.
I got one. Which medicine should I take to improve a part of the clarity of the concept?
I'm sorry, say it one more time.
Uh, which medicine should I take in order to improve a part of the clarity of the concept?
That's a problem that can only be solved by actually just taking paintings to finish often.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and so I said this. I had a good solution for this too. I realized, which is just a study. Oh, no, sorry, so not study. Give yourself a time limit to finish a painting, like 20 hours, 30 hours, whatever, like maximum.
Mm-hmm.
And after 30 hours of painting, whatever, just call it done, even if it's not still, and ask yourself why it's not still done, you know, and then practice and study those types of things, right? And then do another 30-minute painting or 30-hour painting. I'm sorry, not 30-minute painting, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and then
Okay.
and try to see what you've improved upon or what you did not improve upon, because then you can judge the two, right? And if you think 30 hours
Mm-hmm.
is a lot, like that's why I always tell people like to do hour, 2 hour paintings, you know, so they can kind of see how far they can get in an hour, right? And it doesn't take a lot of time. But there eventually there's going to be a time where you have to sit down and do like just a long painting, you know, maybe
Okay.
once a month, really just sit down and just do like a super long painting, you know, just to see what was slowing you down. Like why did it take you so long to get as far as you got?
Yeah, the time is another problem that I have.
Yeah, because for me, I got that experience once I started working, and I think it's better not to get it like you're gonna get it no matter what when you start to
Mm-hmm.
work for others. But I think it's better to kind of just try to do it on your own terms, because when you work for others, there's a different problem that comes, and I'm not a big fan of, which is you might not even like what you're doing. So now you're spending like 20, 30 hours working on stuff you don't even like,
Mm-hmm.
you know? Um,
Yeah.
because that was like the first job I had. That's what it was like. But now I do spend 20, 30 hours on stuff I love,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Okay. Yes. Um.
Because that
But
whole year working for that studio, I was pretty much just drawing like stupid stuff, you know? I'd rather have
okay.
just focused on what I could have improved upon before.
And working is the times are like very hard or how is it?
Yeah, it depends on where and who you're working for. I don't
Mm-hmm.
think it was hard because it was just tedious, just sitting there rendering something, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like rendering like a golf cart. Like I don't want to do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like while you're still kind of like a student, that's what I'm saying. Like you should take advantage of the opportunity to perfect your style and your process.
Yeah.
So you don't like
I
render slot machines, and that's where you learn how to render to completion and learn clarity. You know?
yeah. That's the struggle that I have now. I feel like I'm not a professional for now. Um,
And that's the only difference, really. I think you're not too far from it, man. The real difference is just that level of polish. That's it,
mhm.
right? Like there's
Okay.
really, really uncreative artwork that you would definitely destroy if your paintings were more finished. You get it?
Mhm.
And I use the word finish. I don't necessarily mean render either. Like finish is selective, you know?
Yeah, I think I know what
It's
you
just
mean.
like when you look at two images, you know one image is a professionally done image and you know one is not. It's still like a student image. And it's
Mhm.
very similar to kind of what I was talking about, with the portfolio I was looked at earlier, right? Roberto, like it's just not clear, you know?
Mhm.
Versus when we look at Merrick Oaken or Chase Stone, like there's like brush strokes, like that cloud is not like 100% finished, right?
Yeah, it look like.
But it looks like a cloud. It's very clear. There's very clear style to it. It's not accident. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like this monster thing, there's like parts of it are not clearly like you can see the brushwork of it, you know,
Mhm.
but it's clear from the texture to the material to the lighting to the design. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So versus this Merrick Oaken inspired or Chase Stone inspired piece of artwork,
Mhm.
right? Like look how there's the little glimpse of airbrushiness happening over this like highlight right here. You see that?
Mhm. Yeah.
Like that keeps adding up in the images, like just that like blurry kind of not committal painting just keeps
Mhm.
adding up in the whole painting, you know?
Mhm.
And that's why this doesn't look like this, right? The
Yeah.
colors are also very indecisive, you know? They're bleeding into
Mhm.
one another. Like this purple is also in the purple of this in this head, you know? It
Yeah.
all adds up. The more that's everywhere, the less it's gonna feel professional, you know?
Mhm. I think now I get the
Yeah.
reason that I have.
I would
Yeah.
love like here's a great example. Here's a good way to gauge too. I love to use this way is I would like to have this on my wall. I would not like to have this on my wall.
Yeah.
You get it?
Yeah.
Right? Like this looks like something that's made to be a full illustration that is supposed to put on your wall. This looks like a student project. Again, I'm not trying to insult that artist specifically that I was just critiquing that I don't know, you know?
I know.
Because they might become epic. Just give them time, right? Everybody has the potential to get there. All that person needs to do is what I just critique them about, right?
Mhm.
So,
So thanks.
yeah, man, absolutely. Wait, hold on. Someone asked a question. Is there something that happened to you or your student that can cause a damage to your art skills other than No, not really. Other than what I said earlier, which is like, losing that like confidence, right? I think that's like the worst out of all the many things that people run into. But unless there's some sort of disabilitating thing or something really personal that happened to you, most of the times I don't deal with those types of things. I rarely had to deal with somebody that has a really hard issue, right? Because I think you just got to, if you don't have a strong will, you know, I'd highly recommend, just don't worry about other people's opinions, right? Just worry about your own growth. And remember, there's only really one thing that will prevent you from your own growth, which is doing absolutely nothing, right? Because even if you were doing the studies wrong, like even though you were kind of not practicing in the right way before, potentially, right, Roberto? You're still drawing and painting. You're still improving. Okay. So there's nothing you can do. It just might take you longer with some approaches versus others, but you're still going to get there eventually. Yeah. Because it took me 3 years to discover I was studying and practicing wrong. Or not wrong, but not in a progressive, like not in a quick way. Like it was just really ass backwards the way I was trying to get better. It worked. It got me good enough. But once I learned that I needed to actually pay attention, that like then my growth was exponential. Anywho, all right, guys. Well, I'm gonna stop now. Hope you guys enjoyed the painting. Pretty bizarre flower monster dude. I'm always about those flower monster dudes. You would like it, Danielle. You just got done watching. You just got done watching Moana. That's why. Me too. That's probably why it just because we're just like, what's in our mind? Ooh, ooh, that's good. The baby version of Moana was freaking adorable. Yeah, absolutely, guys. It was a pleasure teaching you guys. Apologize if you guys hear my wife whining in the background. But it was a pleasure. You guys are awesome. Yeah, you guys are absolutely welcome, man. I appreciate you guys. She just wants to get watch Game of Thrones really badly. She's waiting. Yeah, you guys are awesome. I'll see you guys around. Yeah, I'll see you soon, James. So not goodbye to you yet. And then not Riley, Rich, but if you're seeing this, we'll like send me a message in Discord or on Skype, and we'll sort of stuff out. And Josh, we'll talk in just a minute. Yeah, I'll go on to Discord or something. No, I can just call you on Skype. There's no reason to go make it all weird. Go through a different platform. See you guys, and have a good one. And remember, keep painting, keep drawing, keep practicing. Thank you for watching this video. I appreciate it. Please subscribe to watch more in the future. If you liked the video, I would appreciate a thumbs up. If you like this content, you can go to my website, robotpencil.net, where you can find mentorships, tutorials, and a Patreon to get more exclusive content. Thanks again, and I'll see you guys in my next videos.